Hello Year 9, this is the last of the NAPLAN Numeracy Advanced session. After that, I'm going to find another topic. If you want to give me suggestions, please do. Put it in the comments. Each session is composed of about 5 to 6 questions, so that doesn't take too long, about 10 to 15 minutes. So enjoy! We had previously a question like this that asked us what number is halfway between, but it wasn't two fractions, it was a number halfway between two decimals. And even then I said the word that I prefer to use is not halfway but average. Because when you want to find the average, you add the two numbers together and then you divide it by 2, and that's how you find where the halfway is. Now, in our case, we've got two fractions, and these fractions have a different denominator, so we cannot add them together unless we find a common denominator for them. And so, how can we find 1/3 and 1/5 so that we can add them together? We need to find a common denominator, and the common denominator in that case, I would say, would be 15. Because 3 goes into 15 and 5 goes into 15. So our first fraction, we will just multiply both sides by 5, here by 5, and the second one will multiply by 3, and also here by 3, and now we have 5 and 3/15. So that's easy enough. We can add that together. And that becomes 8/15. Now to find the average, we need to divide it by 2. So we will now write 8/15 divided by 2. And writing 2 can be written as 2/1, so that now you have two fractions. So how do you divide the two fractions? You keep the first one as it is, so it means keep me as I am, so it's 8/15. The next step that you need to know is that you need to swap the division with a multiplication sign, and the third thing that you have to remember is that you need to flip the last fraction. So it becomes now 1/2. These are the steps that you must remember when you're dividing two fractions. So now 8 times 1 is 8, and 15 times 2 is 30. We can now simplify that down by dividing the top by 2 and dividing the bottom by 2, and we have 4/15, and that looks good because that answer is up there in B. 3/4 of an amount is $180. What is 2/3 of the amount? So we want to know what that amount is. Let's write this down. So this is one way of writing it down. Another way of writing it down is to say 3/4 of this amount here, which we don't know what it is, I'll just put an A in here, is equal to $180. So how do we work out what A is? Let me just rewrite it one more time. So I have 3A, and I'm dividing it by 4. So, and that becomes 180. So that means I need to now move the 4, so I have 3A, and that means that it is 180 times 4. Now I'm going to move the 3, so my A now is 180 times 4 divided by 3. And this means that it is 60 times 4, which is now 240. That is the amount. So 240 is my amount. Now I want to find what is 2/3 of my amount. So let's go to the top. 2/3 of 240 means that I'm going to multiply 2/3 by 240, and that is going to be 480 divided by 3. And if you do that division, you'll get $160. So I can write that in my answer, 160. So let's look at these individually, and we'll see that when you look at the first place after the decimal here is 3, and the first place after the decimal here is 0. Now, which one is smaller? 0 is smaller. This is greater. But this sign over here says that this is smaller. See, that little point over here means it's small, and this means that it's greater. So this is not true. Now let's look at the one below. Once again, I see 1 here and I see 4 here. That means 4 must be greater than 1, and yet this sign indicates that it is less than, that 0.4 is less than 1, or 1 is greater than 4. That's not true. Now we're going to look at some numbers that have negative values. If you have a negative value here or a negative value over there, it's not very easy to determine which one is bigger. We can make them both positive and that positive as well. That would be fine. So let's do that. If I write that this is 0.7 and I'll write that this is 0.6, okay, that means that I've made that positive and that positive as well. If I do that, there's something else I need to do, and this is the very important. I need to change the sign as well. So what was greater now becomes less than. Now I wonder whether we could determine whether this is true or not. Let's have a look at that first. Is this less than 6? Is 7 less than 6? No, it's not. So this is also not true. Now for the very, very last one. We're going to try and do the same thing. I want to get rid of the negative sign. So I'm going to write this as 0.9. And now I will reverse the sign. So that becomes greater than this. And leave 7.5. Now, is it true that 7 is less than 9? It is true. So this happens to be true. And we can highlight D. In 1999, Kathy turned 16. So Kathy's 16 in 1999. She met at a party Jade, who was also celebrating her birthday. But Jade was a quarter of Kathy's age. So what is a quarter of 16? That's 16 divided by 4. So that means that Jade must have been 4 years old. Now we come up to 2019. This is 20 years on. And the girls meet up on their birthday. And the question is, what fraction of Kathy's age will Jade then be? So let's calculate what is Kathy's age in 2019. 16 plus 20 is going to be 36. And Jade's age will be also 20 plus 4, so we'll have her age will be 24. Now, to calculate what fraction of Kathy's age will Jade be, we need to put 24 over 36, which is Kathy's age. Now, that's not anywhere near the answer, so we can now, let's say if we divide both upper and lower by 12, we should get to 2 over 3. And that's the answer to this question is C. So there were 60 people at a party and the ratio of adults to children was 7:5. If you want to read the whole question, then stop the video, because I'm just going to deal with this particular information. And we've got 7 to 5 children. Now that together gives us 12 people. Now we've got 60 people, so what would it take to get to 60? We would have to multiply this by 5. So therefore, if we multiply the children by 5, we'll get 25 children. And if we multiply the adults by 5, we'll also get 7 times 5 is 35 adults. So that means altogether we've got 35 adults and 25 children. And if you add 35 plus 25, it will be 60. And now later, 20 people left the party and the new ratio of adults to children was 5:3. So let's do the calculations here of the new ratio. The new ratio after they left is 5:3. And that means that there were 8 people in this ratio. So, but if 20 people left, then there would have been only 40 people left. So how did we get from 8 to 40? We also multiplied that by 5. So therefore, let's multiply the number of children by 5, and we'll know that there were 15 children. And if we multiply the adults by 5 too, then that means that there were now 25 adults. So we've got a new ratio of 25 adults and 15 children. The question that we want to ask ourselves is, how many adults and children left the party? Not how many adults and children there were left, but how many left the party. That's the big question. So let's have a look. We had 35 adults, and now there were 25 adults. How many adults left? 10 adults left. And there were originally 25 children, and 15 of them are left. So that means that 10 children left. So 10 adults and 10 children left the party. So our answer is A. Packet has balloons in colors of red, white and blue. Now 5/12 of the balloons are red. So 5 out of the 12 are here. They're red, 5. If we've got 12 balloons, 5 of them are red. And 1/3 of them are blue. It doesn't tell me what is it out of 12. I want to change this to out of 12. What is this out of 12 balloons? Well, I need to multiply this by 4, so it'll be 4. So how many out of 12 are going to be white? 5 plus 4 is 9. So that means that there must be 3 out of 12 will be white. Now, in our answer, we don't have a 3 out of 12. That's because we need to cancel it down. And if we cancel 3 out of 12, that will be the same thing as 3 out of 12 is the same thing as 1 out of 4. And so our answer is going to be C. So this is the last video on numeracy. The next one I'm starting is on algebra. Love to hear your comments. But please remember to give me the thumbs up.